Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Not hardly, and you can expect a hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing.
That blizzard thing. Oh, that blizzard thing. Oh, well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing.
Yes, they are, but there's another reason why today is especially exciting.
Especially cold.
Especially cold, okay, but the big question on everybody's lips.
Their chapped lips.
Their chapped lips, right. Do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow?
Puxatawny Phil.
That's right, Woodchuck Chuggers. It's Groundhog Day! Yeah! Give me some of that Sonny and Cher. Come on. It is one of my favorite shows of the year.
It's a great movie, man.
And we're not going to allow some power outages to dissuade us from having some good times with Groundhog Day. It is a great film. It's a great moment in Matt Murphy radio show history as we celebrate Groundhog Day together. Hello, friends. If you know about our Groundhog Day tradition, you already know what's coming. If you don't, then buckle your seatbelts because you're in for a bumpy ride. Jackson Williams is behind the glass. He's making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible, and I appreciate him. Jackson has no idea what's to come. He just does as he's told. Ken Weaver might have a little more of an idea. He's back in News Closet B gathering headlines as we speak. He delivers those twice an hour, and when it breaks. Hey, Ken.
How about you boys?
What's happening, Ken?
I'm a lot happier today than I have been in about a week and a half.
How's that?
Because it's 47 degrees. It actually feels like swimming weather compared to what we've been through.
It's kind of funny, Ken. You mentioned that. Now, I like the cold a lot more than you. You can't stand it, well on record.
I hate it. In fact, it's 49 degrees now. It's even warmer.
Let me tell you something. I'm so excited because I might get a fence this week. Who knows?
All right.
The ground has to get warm up, and we got to get all that ice and nonsense off of it. But
yes, sir.
It was 41 degrees this morning. I looked at my phone, which is my weather center, and I put on my sweater, which I'm wearing now. You can see it if you're watching on Talk TV.
That's a nice sweater.
Thank you, Ken. And I put on a bigger coat, and I went outside, and I thought, do I really need this bigger coat?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that was nice.
Yes, sir.
It's a nice little respite. Is it going to stick around? Do we know?
Well, now we're going to get down to 29 tonight. That's not good. We've got rain moving in tomorrow, but the good news is we're going to be well above freezing. 48 degrees for that rain that falls about a 40% chance in the morning, turns into a 90% chance in the afternoon, 60% chance in the evening. Then after that 60% chance, we get down to 31 degrees. So we need for that rain to move out before we dip down to 31 degrees tomorrow night.
100%. And, I think we're getting past it, at least in terms of the weather. Whether we get past it in terms of the electricity remains to be seen, as there are still ongoing frustrations. There are ongoing outages. We will continue to discuss said same. We will talk with Senator Marsha Blackburn at 3:35 today. Let me signpost for a moment. I'm sure that Senator Blackburn has a few things to say about that and the possibility of a government shutdown. We will speak with Representative William Lamberth at 4:05 this afternoon. William Lamberth got throttled over the weekend on the X machine. I don't know if y'all saw it. He posted positive results from the state of Tennessee regarding illegal alien activity and the apprehension of illegal aliens and the removal of said same from our state. And in that post, he was discussing some of the types of criminal aliens that have been apprehended in this state and some of the successes, like the missing children that have been found. And X throttled him. They sent him a post saying, no, you can't post that. We don't like that at all. That's against our policies. Now, eventually that was handled, but it just goes to show you that even in the most robust free speech environments, sometimes the truth is hard to hear. William Lamberth will discuss that. We'll discuss the possibility of regionalizing NES board membership with William Lamberth and whether or not that's a possibility on the docket for the General Assembly. There has been a lot of discussion about that, and we will continue that discussion. Then at 5:05, our good friend Michael Lotfeet, who has been without power for these many days, will be with us in studio. Obviously, Michael is with Americans for Prosperity, and he does a lot of work over in the General Assembly, and he has been pushing the idea, as we have been. We talked about it last week, the possibility of regionalizing the NES board and getting it out of the hands of Davidson County and the woke members of the Metro Council. So that is that's the docket today. It's also Groundhog Day. We've got a lot to discuss away from the weather with regard to what's going on in Washington, D.C. and other matters. And you on the phones. Obviously, there are still people that are without power. Ken, what are we? Are we at around 25,000 households? Is that about right?
A little bit underneath that, Brother Murphy. Let me check the very latest here. I got 24,065.
2465. Way too many. So here's my analysis. And I would love to hear yours, 615-737-9986. If you remain in need for whatever reason, I'm thankful that the weather is warming up. So those without power, at least you're getting a little warmth away from the frigid, cold conditions that were what was present over the weekend. As I was unpacking boxes over the weekend, it occurred to me that everything that the Nashville Electric Service could do wrong, they did. Everything. And I don't need to necessarily get into the politics of the people elected to the board. I don't need to get into the politics of the CEO, although that is necessarily a part of the story based on some of their decision-making. But everything they did in regard to this winter storm was wrong. And if they just did one of those things right, maybe none of this happens. Or at least the level of frustration is mitigated. The level of outages is in some way mitigated. And sadly, when it became apparent that they were not prepared for the moment, nobody stepped up. It is not the role of the governor necessarily to step up, although the governor did what the governor could in signing his executive order authorizing that the Tennessee Department of Transportation would be able to help NES in their debris cleaning efforts. I suppose that the governor could have initiated a call to Freddie O'Connell to try to bring out the National Guard. I mean, I suppose. But that did not happen. But the mayor's office, while they have now expressed, quote unquote, frustration with the Nashville Electric Service, they didn't step up and command the lead. When it became apparent that those in positions of authority at Nashville Electric Service, I don't know any of these people. I don't care. It doesn't matter who they are. What matters is who they're hurting. And their inefficiency and their inabilities and their ignorance, it's now hurting people. What I mean when I say that if they had gotten at least one decision right, none of this might have happened. So this Applin lady comes in as CEO in 2022, and she immediately starts talking about canopy. She immediately starts talking about She uses phraseology that makes it very, very clear to me where her focus is. She talks about sustainable resources or sustainability and these types of things, and clean energy and all these types of things. These are not the words of someone that comes from an energy background or an electricity background. Number two, she started talking about the canopy and the importance that Nashville placed on maintaining the canopy. Well, we could have a long-form discussion. I could talk to you for the next 4 hours about why that's probably a bad idea. While you certainly want to have a robust tree presence in your city, you also, your number one job as the CEO of Nashville Electric is to protect the electricity. And if you have to cut down some trees as a result of that, then you have to do that. And you do that in consultation with the elected leaders. You do that in consultation with the neighborhoods that you're dealing with. And there's a place to protect the canopy. But here's the deal. If you choose to do that, if that's your decision, hey, we want to make sure that these trees in Belmead are protected, or we want to make sure that these trees in Old Hickory are protected, or we want to make sure that everything looks nice and pretty and beautiful in the summertime in East Nashville, against the judgment of the arborists that would suggest that maybe those trees are a little bit too close to the power lines. If you do that, that's fine. But you have to understand the danger that you're putting the citizens in the next time that an ice storm comes through. And you see, you did the one and you didn't do the other. You decided that these trees were very, very important to you on the one end, and then on the back end, you staged less than 200 linemen to handle the unmitigated disaster that came with your decision on the front end to keep the trees. Y'all with me? Everybody with me? So if you decide to keep the trees, you have to be hypersensitive to ice storms. You should be up front 3 days before the storm comes here. And you should be standing before. How hard is this? Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, it has been a long-term policy of Nashville Electric Service to protect our trees and the beautification of our city. We believe in that policy, and we believe that the residents of Nashville, Tennessee benefit from it. However, with the impending ice storms, it must be said that we are at greater risk for limb breakage. We are at greater risk that trees are going to endanger the electricity in our system. Therefore, we beg of you to be aware of these things moving forward. And as a result of our decision on the front end to protect all of our trees, which apparently was very, very important to this CEO, she brought it up in almost every interview she did. If that's so important to you on the front end, how can you not be aware of the danger that it causes on the back end? So much so that not only should you have not only staged more people than you did, you should have staged more people than other electrical companies did, because you knew that you had placed your customers at greater risk than other communities that didn't, quote unquote, protect the canopy. Am I making any sense? So not only are you allowing your environmental ideology to dictate your electric service decisions on the front end, you don't have the awareness of what your job is, or how you just made the job of the lineman more difficult on the back end to stage an appropriate amount of people to respond to the disaster that you, in part, created. Everything you did was wrong. And I've not even mentioned the disastrous public relations response after the fact. If I have to hear any person from the Nashville Electric Service tell me that this was an unprecedented storm again, I'm going to throw up. This was not, repeat, not, underline, not an unprecedented storm. That is not to say that we would not have been without power if every right decision was made. That is not to say that this would not have been a challenging circumstance if they had done everything right. And that is not to say that in the past circumstances of events like this, 1994 comes to mind. I was not here at the time, but many of you were. Obviously, people go without power when events like this happen. But stop telling me that this is something that isn't so. Stop telling me that this is something that's never happened before, when the people that are listening to you know very well that it has happened before. They're willing to put up with a little inconvenience. Hell, I feel like the people of the state of Tennessee are willing to put up with no power for a few days. They understand that too. But what we don't like happening is for you, madam, to stand before the people of Tennessee and blow sunshine up our ass, which is exactly what we're getting out of you. And I find it fascinating that on programs like this and in the television outlets in this town, and maybe on, I don't know I don't know how the other guys are doing it on Super Talk, but maybe Chad's done it. Maybe Chris has done it. Maybe Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News. When everything seemed okay Monday and Tuesday of last week, Nashville Electric Service, when it was all going to be sunshine and roses, they were willing to come on and speak directly to the people. But suddenly, when the questions got a little bit harder, they disappeared. They're not answering anything. And I'm like, what in the hell? Do you not understand the basics of crisis management? That you get in front of it, that you admit that decisions were made that perhaps were poorly decided, that things went wrong on the front end, but you're going to make it right on the back end? No. You just keep telling us that, well, this was unprecedented. I am grateful for the linemen. I'm grateful for the workers. I'm grateful for you men and you women that are busting your humps every single moment in the last 2 weeks or whatever it has been to do everything in your power to get the power back up and running. I'm sorry that you were not properly equipped. I'm sorry that as good as you are, that they are not enough of you or were not enough of you. I'm sorry that your management failed you. I'm sorry that the management of NES failed the many communities that they serve. And I'm here to tell you that heads will roll. I don't think Applin survives this, but sadly, I would almost guarantee you that she has some sort of parachute involved in her. I mean, hell, she just got a 10% raise last November. I saw somewhere that she makes in excess of $300,000 a year. Okay, so is she earning? This is where you earn that money, ma'am. Do you believe you're earning your money? You don't earn your money when you sit down for softball interviews and talk about the importance of sustainability and the canopy. You don't earn your money when you're sitting down and answering questions about how important it is for NES to protect the green space. You earn your money when people are cold and they're afraid and they're alone and they need power. And you have failed. You have failed. And no words will correct it. It'd be nice. It would be nice to hear a little honesty out of you. And it's time for leadership to step up and call it out. And Mayor O'Connell, I hear you. And I suppose you're doing the best that your bureaucratic brain can muster. But a blue ribbon panel that is going to initiate a task force that has a survey commission that's going to offer a sternly worded report 8 months from now is garbage. You need to take the lead. I haven't seen you do that yet. Oh, I saw you on a photo op move a couple of limbs around without a hat on in 20-degree weather, which looks frickin' ridiculous, Freddie. I mean, no offense there, Fred, but it looks grossly ridiculous that you do a photo op where you're walking around with a couple of tree limbs. You don't have any gloves on. You don't have an appropriate coat on, and you got no hat on, and it's less than 20 degrees outside. And, oh, but you're out there helping the workers. Whatever. All right, I've run late. And every time I run late today, we lose one less opportunity to celebrate Groundhog Day, and I'm sad about that. It's 25 after the hour on Super Talk. Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach?
Not hardly, and expect hazardous travel later today with that don't turn the music down, Jackson, that blizzard thing.
Oh, that blizzard thing. Well, here's the report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big old blizzard thing.
Yes, they are. But, there's another reason why today is especially exciting.
Especially
cold, okay. But the big question on everybody's lips.
They're chapped lips.
They're chapped lips, that's right. Do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil.
That's right. Woodchuck Chuckers. Hey, it's Groundhog Day! Yeah, that fun? Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun?
It's still fun.
Isn't that fun? That's good. Yeah, that's fun.
It's fun.
Right now, Senator Marsha Blackburn has no idea what's going on, but it's fun.
She does.
It's fun.
She's probably thinking, do I want to do this?
Have they lost their ever-loving minds?
Well, maybe. It does feel like, sadly, I mean, in all seriousness, it feels like Groundhog Day again, because we're here to report to you that there are thousands upon thousands of Nashville homes that remain without electricity, and that's a very serious matter. We're having some fun with Groundhog Day, but that's very serious. And here to speak on that is Senator Marsha Blackburn. She joins us once again on the Matt Murphy Show. Senator Blackburn, happy Groundhog Day. I hope you're doing well.
I am doing well, and yes, indeed, it seems like what we see now is NES, which, of course, that's a part of Metro government, and they had their Super Bowl, if you will, and it was how they were going to deal with the ice storm. And out of the 470,000 customers they serve, about half of them lost their power. And, Matt, if you have a 50% fail rate, that is something totally not acceptable. It means you don't have redundancies, you don't have resiliency in your network, and of course, they were just not up to the challenge. Because of that, we've got 23 Tennesseans that have lost their lives. We have people that are on their 9th day of being out of their homes. And I have heard from so many people. We're doing all we can. I know the governor has deployed the National Guard, the THP, TEMA is hard at work, and I think people are really, really concerned about the way the city of Nashville and Nashville Electric Service have responded to this.
Well, I would agree with you, Senator, and I know that you've been speaking on this matter since it happened. You are as concerned as the rest of us. The question is, are we at a stage where, obviously we want to get the power back on. Is there anything more that we can ask of the governor? Is there anything more that we can ask of regional resources? Or are we at this stage left with waiting on NES to finish this up before we can, clearly there's going to be a postmortem. Clearly there's going to be an opportunity to look at some folks and see where the failures happen, because people have to be held responsible, do they not?
Oh, absolutely. They're going to have to be held responsible. And when you're doing 102 DEI trainings and you're cutting the tree trimming budget by $7 million, whacking it by 30%, what kind of preparations were you making? Were you not listening to the weather report? Because for days they were saying snow, sleet, then freezing rain. You couldn't go to Kroger or Publix and find anything. The shelves were empty. People were making their plans. And for half of the people that you serve in your network to lose their power, and many still not have power, this is completely unacceptable. And it's like they prepped for the wrong storm, and they knew what was going to happen. They've got one job. It is to keep the lights on.
Right.
And keep that power on. And they did not do it. And as we do the post-mortem, Matt, I was talking with the CEO of NES, and I said, look, the good Lord gave us hills and valleys. He gave us great big hardwood trees. He gave us rocky limestone soil. Those are our opportunities and our challenges. Your job is to figure out when something adverse happens, how you keep the lights on, how you keep power up. And if you're not preparing and doing the things that are necessary, it's like after the 94 ice storm, and Chuck and I, of course, lived through that one. Mm-hmm. There was all this talk about putting utilities underground. And then that sort of dissipated. Some builders started doing it, but not every builder. And I said, I told somebody today even, I said, look, if they can't figure out how to trench utility through limestone, what they need to do is go talk to somebody at the boring company, because they're building a tunnel through limestone. Get some advice. Start to think through this process and make some plans and focus on your core mission. And to say, well, we're not taking certain crews that have offered to come help because they don't understand our system. Well, I bet you they know how to set a pole. I bet you they know how to pull wire. I bet you they know how to do cut and toss with trees that are in the way. There are all sorts of support things that they can do. And I think what we've gotten from NES is poor communication. Even Mayor Freddie said, they were ill-equipped to communicate with people what was going on. And we have to realize it's just not Metro Nashville alone. You've got other counties that they go into these other counties in their service area. And people were left with basically no information, and no one seemed to be calling the shots. And you'd hear one thing from one person at NES, and then you'd turn around and, a half hour later, you were hearing something else. So people are they're understandably upset, and they should be. And I know there are a lot of conversations with a lot of people out there that are saying, okay, our taxes went up with Metro, and this NES service, they're talking about asking for tax abatements. They're talking about asking for refunds. We have done our part to make certain that FEMA, those services are here. I went over Saturday and did some work with TEMA. And I would encourage anybody listening, if they are needing help, call their county office of emergency management. Those are the individuals that are going to have the information that you need on where to go, where they're going to set up the FEMA service centers and things of that nature.
Senator Marsha Blackburn fired up with us today talking about the outages and the failures involved in the Nashville electric system. You mentioned that you spoke with the CEO, Teresa Broyles-Applin. I'm not asking you for any specifics of that conversation, but do you get a sense of contrition? Do you get a sense that she is frustrated? Do you get a sense that she understands the magnitude of this failure?
I will say I think that her position is reflected in the response she gave to the letter that I sent over to her. And I just did not, and that is on my website and on my social media. And Matt, I got to tell you, it's just like, this is what we're doing, and it's still not enough. And when you look at the growth that we have had in Tennessee, and when you look at the necessity of building out that infrastructure to meet that growth and making that infrastructure resilient and focusing on how you meet that growth rather than focusing on all these other things. I just, sometimes you'll say somebody's been watching the wrong ball. And
yeah.
I think that they were off into things that were not about keeping the power on, and because of that, we've seen this. In the letter she sent me, she said they had 230 NES linemen and 984 contract workers. Well, why didn't they have these contract workers in here immediately? If they didn't do the tree trimming and they knew that was going to be a problem, why didn't they take the 8 or 9 days advance notice we had on this
100%.
and get crews out trimming some of these limbs in areas where they generally lose the power?
And I said this earlier, Senator, and you could not be more correct. I said this earlier. It's one thing to decide to make a decision on the part of your company not to do trimming and to, quote unquote, protect the canopy. We might disagree with that, but if you know you did that, why in the world would you not stage more workers on the front end? Because you know what the consequences are going to be when ice hits those trees.
That's exactly right. And see, the thing is, you have historical data on this. The 1994 storm was very close in equivalence to this that we have had. And you know what is going to happen. We knew we've got a bunch of trees out here, and we knew what was going to happen. We took some steps to prepare, and NES should have been doing the same thing. They should have been contracting with people on the front end. You know, she says in her letter, they have 346 vegetation management personnel. That's tree trimmers.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't they have 600? Because you've got people like my family, they grabbed chainsaws and they got out there to help people and started cutting trees. And NES should have had people lined up to get out here where they knew there was going to be a problem. But most importantly, going back to that original point, Matt, if you've got 470,000 customers and you've got half of them that lose their power, you've got a problem
Amen.
with how you have prepped. You've got a problem with resiliency. You've got a problem with redundancy, and you have not been focused on the fundamentals.
Do you believe
everybody's jumped in? TVA's jumped in, the governor, the National Guard, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and God bless all these linemen.
Yes.
And all
Amen.
of these tree trimmers that are out there, and neighbors, volunteers. We are the volunteer state. People that have been out here working in single digit and 15, 16-degree weather to try to help people get to safety, to take care of neighbors that are elderly, to help people that are on dialysis, people that are in hospice. This was avoidable, and I think that the postmortem on this is going to go on for a while.
Finally, Senator, and I know you're a little bit limited on time, but I do have to ask you, I mean, you know, obviously you are running to be the next governor of the state of Tennessee. There have been calls by myself and others to regionalize Nashville Electric Service. It not only serves Davidson County, but 6 surrounding counties. Those folks have no one to turn to. They don't have any elected officials that they can speak to regarding the inefficiency of the board or the inefficiency of the CEO. Is it time to consider regionalizing the board of NES, or at least the appointment to that board to make it more of a regional apparatus as opposed to a Davidson County only?
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this today as I was reading through some things on this situation with the NES, and we have a regional transit authority, and you have to do something because there are people in the other counties, like I said earlier, whose power comes from NES, but then they have no way to get information. And here's another thing. People were calling NES and nobody was answering the phones, and you couldn't get in the information that your power was out. Their system, I guess, is so antiquated, they couldn't handle the volume of text messages and phone calls and emails that they were getting. So we were doing all we could to help people because I said, at least we answer the phones and we try to get information. That's the reason I sent her a letter and said, get me some responses back so I can make it public and we can get information to people. And I know some of our mayors over in Rutherford County and Williamson County and other areas, they've been trying to send emails out to people to give them the information they had, because they couldn't get anything out of NES. So this is going to take a while to work through this, making certain that they are prepared and that they are focusing on keeping the power on.
Amen.
It's going to have to be their top priority. I think it has been incredibly dangerous for so many people. And to think about these families, kids are going back to school. I was talking to a mom and she said, you know, we've got an overpriced Hampton Inn room. It's 4 of us. We're in the room. The kids are going to have to do homework, and we're trying to figure everything out. We don't know when our power's coming on. They're saying it could be February 9th, and people are incredibly frustrated. I understand it, and we've done the declaration at the federal level. Thank goodness the president approved Governor Lee's request when it came in. FEMA is here. They are on the ground. TEMA is working, and I would hope we see more of a response from NES and more of a response from Metro government, and I do appreciate that Mayor Freddie called them out.
Senator, final question, and it's a simple one. Does NES need new leadership?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know, when you look at whomever thought they were prepared for this storm, oh, yes.
Okay.
You know, this is going to be up to the mayor. And I think it is time to do a revisit of how they are staffed and organized, because they had a great big miss, and people are suffering, and businesses have lost. They haven't been able to open the door, and people have lost their lives.
That's right. That's right. Well, Senator, great to talk with you. I know you're fired up about it, as you should be, as we all are. And we'll talk again very, very soon. But thank you for your leadership on this.
Great. Thank you.
All right, take care. There's Senator Marsha Blackburn. You heard her. She said, yeah. I asked the question. She answered. Should there be new leadership? Yes. Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I said it 3 times.
So there you go. Thankfully, and I look, I'm appreciative of people like Senator Marsha Blackburn, but Freddie needs to call on that too. We need to get this lady out of here and get some better leadership that understands an electrical grid in service to this community. It's 5 minutes until the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.